Even though Congress has all legislative power under the Constitution, today what Congress does most of the time is it delegates this lawmaking or policymaking power to federal agencies. Oftentimes agencies make laws through rulemaking, but they also adjudicate. The Administrative Procedure Act, which was enacted in 1946, provided agencies with one mechanism to create law that would require them to go through a rulemaking process. A lot of times they're responses to innovations or problems that are discovered in society. Take airbags, for instance. A number of car manufacturers discovered that airbags make cars safer. The federal government looked at that and said, you know what, that's a good idea. We should create a national standard that requires all cars to have some sort of airbag. Now, to do that, a federal agency, the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, proposed a rule for the public to comment on, as the Administrative Procedure Act requires. There was a comment period where auto manufacturers provided comments, safety groups, and other individuals that would be interested in the proposed regulation provided comments. The agency then reviewed those comments, may have changed the rule slightly in light of those comments, then issued a final rule. Once a rule has been formalized or promulgated and it appears in the Federal Register and eventually in the Code of Federal Regulations, it's the law of the land, just like a statute. A good example of how agencies adjudicate under the Administrative Procedure Act is one we think about a lot today, immigration. When the Department of Homeland Security identifies a non-citizen who is unlawfully present in the United States, they don't go to court to get that person removed from the United States. They go to a federal agency. The process looks a lot like a court proceeding. You've got an adversarial process with parties on both sides, with the government arguing one thing and the non-citizen arguing another. But this all happens within an agency. Federal agencies make the vast majority of laws that we have, yet who are these people? And that might make us worry. Is this democracy? Is this how things should work? And part of the answer to that is that Congress is aware of this. And when they have delegated power to federal agencies, they've also required agencies to use what might be termed minimally democratic procedures that resemble what Congress uses when they pass legislation. So for instance, with notice of comment rulemaking, they have to provide notice of the rule, the proposed rule, before it becomes final. They have to allow the public to provide comments on that rule. And then it becomes final only after they've considered those comments. Adjudication also requires a certain level of notice to parties that might be affected by that. And so the idea there is that it's not, these are unelected bureaucrats that are making the laws, but Congress is forcing them to consider the concerns of the people that might be affected by them when they're rulemaking.